So, if it's a text message to me, so, okay? So it's been redirected, but it's still operable. Good morning. Item 2, approve the agenda. I'm going to make a correction here. Was actually, I don't know if this is the right time to do it or not, but the 10:15 for possible exempt session is not going to be an exempt session. It's going to be part of the regular agenda. We'll just roll right into it. Okay. So, with that, is there any other changes? Motion to approve the agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call for a vote, please. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Beer shank aye.
Thank you. How about the minutes? Have you had a chance to see that?
Yeah, they look good enough.
I think there's 2 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wishes from Friday.
Okay, you got it. So is that your motion to
Yes,
approve?
it is.
Okay,
Second.
all right, moved and seconded. I'll call for a vote, please. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Beer shank aye.
Very good, thank you. 9:01, Sue.
Okay, I have 2 personnel things. One is for Cody Jones, he's been here 6 months, he's in secondary roads for an increase to $26.85 for the contract.
I'm sorry, what was the amount? Was it?
$26.85. Just a resolution, there's 2 copies there for signature.
Okay, is there a motion and a second for this wage and classification change?
I'll move that we hire him and,
He's already hired.
oh, excuse
It's a
me.
wage and classification change. Make those changes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. It's by resolution, so I'll call for a vote.
Beer shank aye.
Seaman, aye.
And Primer, aye. Some signatures and we'll pass them back to Haley, please. Thank you.
And then I have a second one, and that is a new hire, David Eilander, full-time dispatcher at the Sheriff's Department. And that would be an hourly rate of $21.08.
Okay. Can I get a motion to hire David Eilander as dispatch for the sheriff's office at 2108 starting?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so call for vote. This is resolution.
Beer shank aye.
Seaman, aye.
And Primer, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give us just a second here, Barb. We'll get
Thanks.
caught up. Hello, Scott.
Morning.
You're right, it is morning, isn't it?
It was a good one.
It is good. It's not snowing. My book's a very good morning. Barb, you got one now?
Yes, I'd like to set a land use hearing for Zeb and Tamara Reardon for Tuesday, March 5th at 9:15.
Okey dokey. Can I get a motion to set that land use hearing for March 5th, 9:15 a.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Call for vote. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Thank you. And if you get those resolutions, I'll send them on down to Haley here. Thank you. Okay, item 6 is to appoint Bruce Gepster, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, to the Belle Plaine Airport Regional Zoning Board.
Motion to appoint
Okay,
Bruce Gapser.
okay.
I'll second it.
Oh, it's pronounced Gapster?
I think so.
Okay, all right. So that's been moved and seconded. And we'll call for a vote on that, please. It's Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Great, thank you. Well, we're kicking through things here a little bit. The other items are all timed. I jump over to reports, I guess. Any reports?
No.
And our annual tower meeting on Thursday. Thursday and Friday, they got the racks with all the equipment that's on the racks mounted out here to,
This is inside the building.
yes. It's all the equipment that comes in on the racks and everything. It's already wired in and done, ready to go. Out here to east of Mitten and then Rogers Park. And then the rest of the week, this week, they're moving in down southern part of Benton County, moving the racks, everything in the buildings.
Good.
So
They've
things
been
are happening.
pre-tested, you said?
They were tested in Marshalltown,
Good.
so things are happening, ain't they, Scott?
Finally,
I saw that they were down at Norway yesterday,
yeah, it's supposed to
just
be,
moving stuff in.
supposed to be Norway Belle Plaine this week. Weather should be good enough for them to do it.
Good. Very good. Yep. Nice. Anything else?
Said,
Well, I didn't have any other meetings, but I did tell you I was gonna bring, from my Benton Development meeting, this is the QR code, which I've only done a couple QR codes my whole life.
That's pretty neat. They showed us that this summer.
Yeah, so. It's not much to look at, is there?
Scan it on your phone and you'll see what it pops up though.
Might be a little tough on that flip phone of yours. So,
I don't buy it either.
so that was that. So I don't know that I've had any other meetings yet, so we're good. Morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
I would like to say on the agenda going forward, I would like to see the old business move from the bottom of the agenda to the top of the agenda. Kind of do that out of the way first.
Well, I think there's not a timed item on it, so you could
No.
address it anytime.
Okay, all right. We'll just try to move that forward. Most meetings I attend, it's usually towards the top. So. started.
All right. So Michael and Christine Rummel, they're requesting to change the use of approximately 1 acre of land to allow for a single-family dwelling. This site, it's located immediately north of Norway along Florence Street, and that's section 17 of Florence Township. This site is located on a 2.86 acre parcel that the applicant owns. This parcel was split off last year from a larger parcel that was owned by JDN Acres. This site was previously in row crop production, however, only 9% of the property is considered high-quality farmland. This parcel has an average weighted corn suitability rating of 65. The applicant will need to install a new driveway to access this property. This proposal was reviewed by Randy Sherwood with Secondary Roads. Originally, it was reported that in order to obtain a site distance of 350 feet, the driveway would have to be located to the north, which would require it to be built up in order to obtain proper slope. Since that time, the contractor that will be doing the dirt work there met with Randy, and they were able to find a spot there just coming off the intersection there with Florence Street, where they can get a driveway in and meet that 350 feet site distance. So that should be allowed to be up where the house will be and not pose any issues. This dwelling will be utilizing Powashik water supply. It is not feasible to connect to the City of Norway's wastewater disposal system, so a septic system will need to be installed. Prior to applying for a land use change, the applicant did explore voluntary annexation of this property with the City of Norway. It was determined that it was not feasible to connect to the city's wastewater disposal system due to the location and depth of the sewage pit in the neighboring yard to the west. And further, the city has no immediate plans of developing this area to the north. So therefore, the applicant and the city mutually agreed to stop pursuing voluntary annexation, which the city has confirmed in the letter that they sent our office. This site is located immediately outside the City of Norway, near the northwest corner of the town. So there are single-family dwellings located south and west of this site that are located within the city limits. To the east and to the north, there are row crops. Notices were sent out to the adjacent property owners, and legal notices were published in the official newspapers of Benton County. And we did not receive any public input regarding this request, other than confirmation from the city that they were not going to be pursuing annexation. In this proposal, it's located in an area with a lower corn suitability rating, and it's adjacent to a residential development. So this proposal should not have any negative impacts on surrounding farm operations. And we do have Michael Rummel here present, if you have anything you want to add to that.
Just that my wife and I have been pursuing this for the past year or more. Her father owned the land, farmed the land, he passed away, went to her mother, she passed away, and then went to my wife and her. Brother and Sisters LLC, that's who we bought it from, broke it out and bought it from. So we're just hoping to build, we like the area, we wanted to stay on our farmland, and it's been a long process just to get this far.
I presume Florence Street has a speed limit on it?
Yes, I'm sure, it's within the city.
Right, and that's why the site distance is 350 rather than 500.
Yep.
Just for clarification for past and future applicants. So, okay, all right. There's currently a residence there, and this would be north of there, of that residence. Is that correct? You
Just,
I haven't
on this,
so that's the planned house there.
that's the planned
Yes,
house.
yep, so that was
Okay.
their sketch there for where they're looking at planning.
Okay, I was wondering if that's what it was, but,
Yep,
because it looked like it was just planted in there.
Oh yeah, I copied and pasted
Okay.
it out, just for reference.
Perfect. Questions, gentlemen?
None here.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve it, land use hearing
Second.
for Michael and Christine Rummel.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve this land use change, and I will call for a vote. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye?
Beershank, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
Well, I just tried that. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. Use your phone, scan the QR code, provided, submit your content. Oh, I don't have my content. Okay. Do you know if Christine's gonna be here? Okay.
As far as I know, she is.
Okay, good.
She might do a presentation.
Okay.
Hi, Ben.
Hello, man.
He's got them moved for a reason, Ben.
I've had a bunch of calls about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have.
You don't want me to move it?
Nope.
Okay. Leave it alone.
Can we, Ben, can we move that camera in another direction?
Part of the problem is the audio runs through that camera.
Okay,
But they can hear it, right?
Huh?
They can hear, right?
The audio gets plugged into that camera directly.
I
That's
get
what it
that.
is.
They can hear with this camera.
Yes.
On, correct?
Yes, but it keeps facing the wall, so.
I know, yeah.
I
Because
just
I
have a
was
bunch of
looking
calls
at my
about it.
phone and all my paperwork. So,
Okay, well, I guess I'll just leave it alone.
thank you. Can't have nothing perfect.
I could give a quick wellness assessment update. if
That would
you're
be
interested.
cool. We
Okay.
got time.
Okay, so, remember we ran that challenge, to try to get people to get the online assessment done by January 31st? And we had 115 people do that. Last year, the total results of people doing the online assessment was 72 for the whole year. And we got 115 the first month.
Nice.
Good news with wellness.
Christine, did you want to do a presentation?
Yeah, if you have it, I
Yeah,
can.
so,
Do you want me to plug into it?
yeah, if you want. I got the cord out, I wasn't sure. I know you did last year, so. Get back to it.
I can reach it. Okay. Looks like good stuff. Oh, there it goes.
Deal or no deal, folks?
So, the chances of opening up big amounts are more, right?
Right, we need to watch it.
Well, you're gonna have to wait
Right.
for the presentation.
I hope you're right. Sarah, open the case.
Actually, I think I got it.
I emailed him.
Well, Scott, you've got interviews that, have you started those?
Monday,
You started Monday?
they'll all be done Monday, first round if there's a second
Oh,
round.
this coming Monday?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good, good.
Got a lot of applicants,
Pardon me?
got a lot of people to interview.
Just 4. We
Yep.
whittled it down to 4 from
Oh,
the
sorry.
7.
Mhm.
I guess there were 9 that originally applied, 2 withdrew before the deadline,
I apologize.
7 to choose from, interviewing 4.
Okay, Cool.
And I don't know who they are. I told my commission I don't want to know who they are. That's, they're hiring them, not me. I'll work with whoever they hire.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's getting real now.
Start to hit home, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Are you seeing me like, not my
that's, yeah, I gotta get to June 30th before I start saying that though. That's,
It's gonna feel good.
that's my problem. Now is, I don't want to check out too early.
Maybe Ben left too soon.
What's that?
Maybe Ben left too soon.
Otherwise, I can just do that.
That sure idea.
PC. It's over.
I can just do paper copy. I got other copies for everybody.
You know, it's
I look for it, but it doesn't make sense.
so the
Yes.
member doesn't have an option anymore, does it? There it is. Just having the- There's two PCs, but the HDMI one went away, so.
Okay, now we gotta figure out. There we go. Okay. So now this is weird, okay. Okay, I don't need to, okay. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad
still on
you each got it
schedule.
figured out.
Yes, even though I know that show was probably more interesting than what I'm here to talk about today. But Christy Bullock from Workplace Learning Connection at Kirkwood, and I'm here to give you an update on what Workplace Learning Connection has done this past year. We actually did make some pretty significant changes here in Benton County, specifically. So our team, we're a team of 16 spread across Kirkwood's 7-county area. On our team, we have people that are exclusively school liaisons that work directly with the schools to figure out what programs they'd like to do around work-based learning. Business liaisons that are experts in building those relationships with businesses. And then we have internship coordinators for our students as they get to more advanced experiences. And the whole goal of our team is to provide students multiple touch points of work-based learning so that they can be exposed to a lot of things and then start make decisions for themselves based on their interests. We know those interests change, so we want to have students have multiple opportunities to do that. You might have seen or heard at the state level, there's a big push for apprenticeships and those types of programs for students. But the hard part is those are when students are ready to make that decision. And so to go from, I haven't looked at any careers, to an apprenticeship is a big deal and most likely would lead students to just go towards careers they know about or that their parents are in. So our services are really important in building students up to then get into those really time-intensive programs. And that just illustrates here with kind of a stair-step approach of how we do that, starting in 6th grade all the way through 12. And the breakdown of what we do at the middle school and at the high school level. At the middle school, we're doing things like bringing in classroom speakers into the schools, so students don't really self-select yet, they just hear from a lot of different careers, and we try and make sure that every student hears from different industries, whether that would be something in the trades or manufacturing, healthcare, education, public sector jobs, even really being intentional about exposing them to careers that they don't know anything about. So a lot of students can relate to, they know what a teacher is, or they might know what law enforcement is, but there might be some other that they just don't see on TV or they don't interact with as much, and so we want to make sure that students see those. We also start taking students on tours in middle school and high school, bringing them into businesses that they might drive by every day, but might not go into those businesses or know anybody that works there. And things like tours are really important because they allow us to even bring kids from different counties to different areas. We've seen a lot of our students actually in our more urban counties, like Lynn County, going out into our rural counties, like Benton and Jones, for tours. When we do our tours in October, we do over 50 businesses open up their doors to over 1,000 students to do tours. So that's kind of a way to get students, let's mix and mingle and see different things in the community, until we jump into the high school level where we get students into job shadows and then into internships. And the next slide will show you kind of how our growth has happened after COVID. Our schools have really said at the high school level, we need to have students doing job shadows, a lot of job shadows. Some schools are even requiring job shadows. Then they want more students to do internships. But job shadows are a great way for kids that might not yet have the confidence to go into a business, or there might not be businesses that have the capacity to host students for long durations of time, for them to come in for 2 to 4 hour experiences. So this number, we actually just ended this about a week ago. We're actually about 4,050 students that are doing job shadows this year, which you can see just a couple years ago was about half, just over half of that. And then having students do internships and events would be things like those tours, mock interviews, career fairs, and those experiences. And here's some pictures that we have specifically of students that have participated from Benton County. You can see that we had this one up here in the top center is students that were at Frontier, and they were doing a group job shadow. They're looking at some of their quality assurance. We have students that did Build My Future. They're all wearing those build shirts that they went out, and we had some of our unions were doing students into the construction industry. Students here on the left were doing a vet job shadow, skilled trades day down there. Then we have students here that when we brought speakers into the class, that's a middle school classroom, as well as here on the right. And in the center is where we have mock interviews. So kind of a wide variety of things of students going out, speakers coming into our schools. We really find too that parents like when we open up these opportunities that they can come into their schools, because you don't see that happen as much at middle school and high school where parents get to come in and see what's going on. And this here shows some quotes specifically from students and businesses here in Benton County. So Lexi from Benton High School said, "My job shadow experience was amazing. It really helped me prep for the future. I feel more comfortable going into this career because at the site we saw all different sorts of things happening. I learned more about neuters and cats and dogs. The vet showed us some x-rays as well. I learned more about the different options after high school and the process for becoming a vet. I really liked how hands-on the job shadow was. Then Isabel from Belle Plaine, I really appreciated learning about the bakers' experiences in life and how they played into their daily work lives. Not only did they show us what they were making, but they thoroughly described it. They put a fun and happy vibe into the air that was calming and comforting. It showed that loving your job will make you a better worker in general. And then we had Alex from Frontier, who hosts multiple group job shadows for us. It's important for students to get real-world experience in their field of interest to see what a workplace is like. Working with Workplace Learning Connection is a great way for us to get paired with students who are interested in the different sciences we work with every day. But this year, we actually did something very unique in Benton County. We only did it in 2 of our 7 counties. We had the superintendents of Vinton-Shellsburg, Benton, and Williamsburg came to us 2 years ago and said, we're trying to hire a work-based learning coordinator for our school specifically. But some of them were trying to hire somebody at 50% time or 60% time, and they were struggling to find somebody that was qualified, that was interested to get a good candidate pool, and all 3 of these districts couldn't find somebody. So they had been working with us for years, and they came to us and they said, what if we shared with Kirkwood and these 3 districts a position, because the state now allows operational sharing dollars to be used for work-based learning coordinators. You've probably heard of districts that share superintendents, curriculum directors, transportation. Well, now they can share one of these work-based learning coordinators because the state has really prioritized that. So 2 years ago, we started those 3 districts. Were the first ones, we're in year 2 right now, the first ones to do an operational sharing agreement for a position that we have. And what we've seen from that is it's allowed us to take a deeper dive into these districts and their work-based learning plans. They are required by the state to have an academic and career plan for every student. So now we're more intentional about being in those conversations. It's helpful, it's coming from the superintendent down. And what we've seen is in these districts, they averaged a 93% increase. Some of them had 100% increase in internships, and it introduced them to participating in new events that they weren't doing previously. So now those 3 districts have really been a model of, we have other districts and other counties that are coming to us and saying, how can we better share this resource together? Our structure had kind of been a shared concept for a long time. The state just picked up on it a couple of years ago. But it has allowed us to increase our capacity. It's no cost to the school. They get funding from the state for it. So it's really a win-win for everybody. And we also transitioned our internship program to be a 4-credit offering through Kirkwood. They get dual credit with the high school. And the reason we chose to do that is, again, a big piece from our rural districts. In order for a high school to offer an internship for credit, high school credit, they have to have a teacher who has a multi-occupations endorsement. And that's somebody that has either 6,000 hours of industry experience or a certain number of college credits related to career planning. That can be very hard to find and very hard to keep. So you think of a big district like Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, they might have 1 MOC for their whole district. So then when you look at like a rural district, finding those people, and then as you know, teachers go between districts, you might have somebody and they leave. So schools weren't really able to consistently offer that credit, at least not how it was supposed to be awarded. So we decided to offer it as a concurrent offering so that the schools don't have to have an MOC endorsed teacher. It'll be taught by our staff and our instructors so students can get credit for it. It also allows the schools to then get Perkins funding for their programs, whereas if they didn't have an MOC, they couldn't qualify these for Perkins. Perkins, you do have to have 10% of your students participating in work-based learning. And it created consistency for our businesses so that the businesses all knew that all the schools were operating the same with their internship program. Previously, some schools did like a 90-hour internship, some did 45, some did 60. They started at different times. So we rolled that out this year. All of our students now this semester are going to be fully in the course. But a big benefit for the students, that's the benefit for the school. What's the benefit for the students? Is Kirkwood saw that students who take college credit in high school, over 75% of them will go on to post-secondary training. That could be a union, that could be a 2-year program, a 4-year program. Versus students who don't, it's about 40%. So getting that college credit helps them just even get that launch pad of like, I'm thinking about my next steps, right? And so we wanted to have an opportunity for this to be an offering for students to take that first credit. We're pairing it now intentionally with our academies that we have at Kirkwood. So we're doing internships specific to our healthcare academy, specific to our construction academy, specific to our welding academy. So that even from the business side, their benefit is then students that are in these training programs already, you know they're interested, you know you've got some baseline skills, so now businesses have a bigger interest in getting tapped into those students. So it's a win-win for kind of all three of those stakeholder groups. And this is kind of similar information that I've shared with you in the past. Year after year, we have consistently positive impacts on students. They're more likely to live and work in Iowa. They're more aware of local careers. Their experiences have positively influenced their career planning decisions. We even consider if a student says, I absolutely don't want to do that anymore. It's amazing how many students don't realize that vets see blood. I think they think that vets play with pets all day long, or that they just get to cuddle them. We've had quite a few students pass out from surgeries with the vets before. So it's good for them to see that there's a lot of variety that they can change their minds. So here today.
Excuse me just a second. Tim, did you want to take a seat?
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt there. Excuse me.
So here today with a consistent budget request based on the 2020 census, we asked all our counties for 10 cents per capita, so that's $2,575.50. Consistent with what it was last year. And how that breaks down into our budget is that our county supervisors, as well as what we get from local grants from businesses and foundations, is about 8% of our budget. It's really important this year, I feel like I say it every year, that we highlight the diversity of our funding. You might have heard a lot in the news about the AEA having some potential changes from the state. That's about 5% of our budget that could potentially change. They're changing some funding that comes to the community colleges. So for us, having a diverse funding of, we have school fees, we're using those operational sharing dollars, the county boards of supervisors. It lets us kind of have everybody have a stake in it without one person having to be the huge, big funder. And so that's, I think, been a consistency that our schools really need too, is knowing that our services are still gonna be there because we have sustainable funding. Any questions? Any comments?
Kirkwood's been around a long time.
Yeah, and it's, the nice thing about the community colleges is we're nimble. We see, needs at the schools, like that example I told you of those 3 schools sharing a position with our team that work with a lot about what the community needs. And so we're really, really fortunate for the things that we've had happen here in Benton County. Benton County has probably been one of our biggest areas of growth here in the last 2 years because of that shared position we have.
Good. Good. I don't have any questions. Do you, fellas?
Belle Plaine School does not participate with Kirkwood?
No, they do. Yep.
Oh,
So
they
we
do?
have all of our schools participate. Those
Okay.
ones just have they tapped into some state dollars to provide additional funding. All 32 of our districts
Okay.
participate. Yep, Belle Plaine actually this year, we did something new at Belle Plaine I should have put in there, is we did a January internship term. I don't know if you've heard of schools where they do this 2-week period after they come back from winter break where they do a J term. And kids can choose to do, they'll be with one teacher all day, and they're really focusing in on a topic for a week or 2. Well, we had about 15 students that did internships during that time, and that was new for us. The counselor, Lisa Daly, out there at Belle Plaine, she worked with us on getting students to do a really time-intensive, 2 weeks, you're doing 40 hours of an internship in those 2 weeks. So that was something new that we did this year with them. But as far as operational sharing, some schools are really tapped out at using, you can get 21 credits. A superintendent is 8 of those. So some of our districts that share a lot of positions won't be able to do an operational sharing with us, but we're still doing the same service to them.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, the community colleges have really filled a big gap
Mhm.
in our societies. So,
Yeah.
yeah, have for decades. It's great programs.
Yeah, and they're great for learners that don't want to be in school for 4 years or want to just do quick training programs.
A lot of
So,
hands-on.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
And we have the hard copy.
The sheriff, 9:45.
Well, I'll give everybody a copy of this. There's some things in here, there's copies of the state code and.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can maybe close out, Elena's, case with their, wolf dogs or hybrid wolf dogs. In the course of this investigation, it started with, some rumors. I had those rumors looked into. And she does have some cross-bred dogs with wolves. And she has done some DNA testing. The testing is below 50% threshold that I actually can't find in writing anywhere. I've called the state vet, and they said it is not in the state code, and it is not in our code. The definition of the wolf hybrid would be a dog, a purebred dog that is bred with a purebred wolf, and then you would get, in theory, a 50-50 mix. However, I can't find that in writing in either the state code or our county ordinance. There was a question early on, were we sure it was Elena's dog that was in the neighbor's livestock? And the answer there is yes. The day that the incident took place, the neighbor actually shot the dog, and Elena then took it later, I believe that same day, to the vet for evaluation. I'll let Tim tell you about the legal part, if it covers or is not covered in any of the codes.
I don't think our current statute does cover this. Reason being is because they don't meet the definition because of the amount of DNA that shows they have wolf. It doesn't meet that definition. It doesn't meet the definition of a vicious animal either. Because to be a vicious animal, they have to have 2 incidents where they've attacked a human or livestock twice in a 12-month period, and we don't have that here either. They're too far apart. There have been different incidents that we've heard about, but they are farther apart than that. So at this point, I don't think they meet the definition of a wolf hybrid or a vicious animal under our current ordinance.
And now I'll turn it over to you.
It's been brought to my attention that, by Sheriff Tippett, that there's some misinformation that was given to you guys at your first meeting. I'd like to submit a formal apology to you guys.
Thank you. Now, if I could ask you a couple questions, Elena.
Yes, sir.
The dog that was in question is Smoke,
Yes, sir.
and you've removed that dog, correct?
Yes, that dog is now housed in Urbandale by Savannah Wolf.
Okay. And do you have plans on bringing that animal back?
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you. And I believe that will, basically, we'll close the investigation at this point.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that, in the state ordinances or anything that, can force a DNA test of these dogs?
I didn't find anything.
Okay, all right.
You probably need to take a look at our local ordinance, maybe in the future, to look at it and see if we change
Okay.
that.
Because quite honestly, I'm not sure we can trust the DNA information we were given.
True.
So,
I-
and that being said, you know, like you indicated, this pretty well brings this to a close. And good Lord willing, we don't have any incidences again.
Would you be willing to have your dogs tested, the ones that remain at your home?
Well, she did have them tested. She did test on those dogs.
I have 2 others that still need a DNA test. I use Embark is what I use. I don't know what DNA testing you guys
I-
would prefer.
Probably a moot point, isn't it?
You would have the information, but other than that, yeah, it would be.
I am willing to do it. You just have to tell me how you want it done, or if you want me to do Embark, or...
If we're looking to get it covered under our statute at that definition of a
Like a wolf hybrid.
wolf hybrid, yeah, we could do that if she's willing. I mean, if you're looking at that at this point.
I don't know if it's a CYA we need to be doing for Tim, you know, for county purposes, liability, you know, for her liability, her insurance, I mean.
That's up to her. We don't have any liability here.
Okay.
I mean, we've done our due diligence
Okay.
in investigating this. It doesn't meet the definitions in our statute. Again, that's something we may want to look at in the future. She may have some civil liability.
Sure, of course.
So,
Okay.
Which we did talk about on Friday when I went and spoke to her about this again. It used to be that in these type of codes, the county ordinance basically reflected the state ordinance. We can't do less than the state law, but we can do more. And that would be defining the hybrid dog in writing. First time we've ever run onto this. But we could look at our ordinance and then define that, and then make that a requirement.
Okay, all right. It's,
I do have one question. If there is a new ordinance put out, am I considered grandfathered in, or do I have to abide by that in ordinance once it comes into effect?
I don't have
I
an
can't
answer.
answer at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Questions, gentlemen?
I did notice in pictures that Deputy Grecker took, one of the signs where you can tell an animal if it is more percentage of a wolf is, the tail doesn't curl. Tracy knows about these things. And in pretty much all those pictures, the animal's tail curls up. In a wolf or purebred, the tail never curves, it's straight. Did find out from talking to the state vet and from numerous articles I read online about wolf hybrids. This type of dog seems to retain and then act more like a wolf in a lot of incidences. They retain a lot of their instincts. And that's where the problem therein lies.
Anything else?
You're not planning on breeding these dogs, are you?
No, they have all been spayed and neutered.
Okay, so when they pass on, we're done, right?
Okay.
I'm talking about, you know what I mean? Are you planning on replacing them? Finding more to,
I've had dog hybrids or wolf dogs for 30 years. So, I mean, they've been a part of my life, but if there is an ordinance or whatever, or you wish that I do not purchase anymore, then yes, or rehome anymore.
It kind of gets to like where you and I spoke. Our major concern there was that there was a daycare at your house. And like we...
I am in the process of moving.
Yes. And like I said, that's something you need to talk to your insurance about to
Right.
see where exactly you stand with this. As
And I
far as having,
appreciate that advice. Thank
as
you.
having the daycare on the same grounds where these dogs are at. That's our concern, it's purely safety.
my feelings is, you got rid of the problem dog. You got the other ones supposedly have not caused a problem, right?
No, sir.
Okay, and I have no problem with them. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we've got 20 minutes before our next timed item. We should take a break. 10:15.
Work on some of your budget work.
You can.
If you would give me those things to sign, I would.
Oh, yeah, you could be working on
Yeah, we sure can. So, shall we take a 20-minute break
Okay,
and work on signatures
all right.
for those forms? Okay. So, do we need to do it formally?
Yeah, you're gonna.
Take a recess. Okay.
So
Motion.
moved.
I'll make a motion to go on a 20, not even 20, 18-minute recess.
Okay, all right.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. Primer, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You went on at noon.
Bring your stamp.
That's a busy day.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I have so much.
And we
Oh,
don't
no,
Tyler
you're-
for help with that
Wasn't sure
CPR.
if that was
Yes.
Saturday.
This class is actually getting my certification.
These are already signed.
So, and then we're gonna, hopefully be able to do some.
Those are?
You want to do that, have you that Grace?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Because she's
No, they're not.
wanting to do offer trainings and
Okay.
stuff. And you would probably be a resource she'd like to have.
Okay.
Her office is just on this side of the hallway.
Okay.
Is it
Oh,
public
yeah.
health?
No hurry, some of the girls will get
Check over,
it.
say public health.
Do you have a couple minutes to wait on this?
Yep.
Hang on, give me just a second.
Yes, you can.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't.
No, and if, yeah, or I can forward you on too, I think I have you on
All right, thank you, Lily. Everybody have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for coming.
See you next time.
Cedar Valley Times. Her name's not Abby, it's
Amy.
Amy. Yeah, there we go. And Tim, the next one we're doing in open session, not exempt session. Okay. FYI.
This is our
Oh,
newest
yeah.
board member, I don't think you've met her, the senior candidate, Heather.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Not all, okay. I'm serving on the young lady that lives clear, well, down by Hannah Lake. But I don't know her first name, but I think her last name is not there. They had a missing dog down there. Strange things come into my memory.
Right, yeah.
Okay, we're ready to go back into session here.
Make a motion to go back in.
Second,
Moved and seconded, call for a vote. Primer, aye.
Tim and I.
your shake eye.
Thank you. Sue,
Yes, so, Shelby, do you want to start? The weed commissioner position is vacant, and so we've been kicking around what to do with that position, for filling that position, where it's going to live, how it's going to look, that sort of thing. Been talking to Shelby about that, and kicking around the idea of it falling under the conservation department. And so we got some job descriptions from some other counties, how they handle it, where it lives. And Shelby talked to her board a little bit about it. And so we want to discuss, I guess, the posting of this position and putting it under Shelby's reign, and I'll let you take it from here. Is that okay?
Yeah. So this is, what you have in front of you is the most kind of updated, consolidated description. And then I have 3 board members here, Becky, Randy, and Sam. And they have been made aware of the potential for this. They've also seen an earlier rough draft of the job description. And we've kind of just been tossing around the idea of what the structure would look like, what this means, for the county, the other departments involved. Just all of the questions that we might have. So I think they're here too, to just kind of go through some of those questions and see, make sure everybody's on the same page, essentially, for lack of a better term, I guess.
this is kind of a work session, so to speak, This doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to approve or disapprove, we just need to hash it out.
Yes.
There are other counties in Iowa that currently do this.
Yes, about 10.
About 10 of them, like that, okay. Right, so, it was suggested to me that we look at this. And so I brought this to Shelby and Sue's attention, and she kind of took the ball and ran with it. I can see a lot of good potential in combining the two. Shelby, if I may, you've got some fantastic organizational skills. And so,
Thank you.
I think this falls right under a conservation umbrella, if you will. So, because the weed portion isn't just a scorched earth policy, it's to get rid of noxious weeds, and to, of course, not spray those that are prohibited. And then, as far as the seating and roadside management, that's common sense. You know, you don't want a hillside that you just cleaned off to wash away. And so, and then brush, of course, has to be removed. So, but, yeah. So fellas, that was a quick synopsis. So, a lot of questions, I'm sure. And this is just, you know, presented to you, so you're not gonna have time to digest all of this, but if I may throw it out to your board with
Yep.
questions that they may have.
If you guys want to come up to the hot seat, you're more than welcome.
What kind of timeline, I mean, if it is mutually beneficial to everybody, what kind of a timeline would you be looking at for this, for the transition to take place?
Well, I would think as soon as possible. Spring is around the corner, and as far as the weeds, I mean, that's gonna start sprouting. The roadside management, you know, taking care of shrubs, etc., that's a year round. And so, and then as they start cleaning the ditches, etc., you know, that's gonna be some hydroseeding and that type of scenario. So I'm thinking we're looking sooner than later.
Yeah, we'd just like to get it posted.
Because as I understand, there's nobody in the 3 positions now currently, or are there any, nobody's?
Nobody is serving in the roles currently, no.
There's gonna be a lot of work clearing trees in the southern part of the county. I looked yesterday, and there were 30 trees growing in one side of one road in 1 square, in 1 mile. So there's a lot of work to do.
And that also has fallen upon secondary roads in the past, you know, the cooperation between secondary roads, the maintainer operator in that area, and the IRVM department. So, I mean, that's kind of been a joint effort. So this isn't anything that just sprouted up overnight.
Right.
So, but he's correct, you know, especially last year, nothing got done.
That was only on one side of the road too.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know there's thistles growing, patches of thistles.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, and all the ditches and the county aren't gonna get, you know, taken care of immediately. So, but this is just a good place to start. Conservation and IRVM definitely go hand in hand. Even the weed portion, again, you just can't go out and spray it all. And so what I had visited with Shelby about was there would still be a department there, but instead of a department head, it would be more of a manager scenario, and you know, that gives you additional, on conservation, additional help when you're burning, and vice versa, if they're doing that type of thing. So, you know, I'm not trying to overload or state that one has not worked hard enough, one department or the other. So, you know, county departments should work together. Other questions?
Anybody in the conservation have their chemical license to spray yet?
Oh, yeah. We have,
You?
yeah, we have always had pesticide applicators. And that kind of goes to a serious question. In the I've talked to multiple directors. about how it kind of works with staff sharing, or if you're out people or anything. And they say year-round, they just hit about a 10 to 20% kind of crossover share of employees. So let's say we weren't to have a manager hired yet by spring, that doesn't necessarily mean that my 4 applicators will be full-time spraying.
Sure.
You know, like it just wouldn't work that way. Because they are 2 separate, I mean, even paid, you know, out of completely different line items and everything like that. So it'd be kind of a learning curve of what those expectations are, and like saying no, even though you may have the capability to some extent, but we have 4 applicators on staff.
So you'd only technically need 2.
Well, the IRM department, all 3 staff members would be.
I'm talking about spraying the weed department. You only need 2 not drivers, but you need 2 applicators.
So I think that's something else. The weed department and the IRM department, to me, are the same thing. The weed commissioner is appointed to somebody in the county, but the IRM department generally gets that. There are a handful of counties that have appointed the weed commissioner within secondary, and then they have IRM under conservation. But I think it's 3 that are like that. And then the rest, weed commissioner is the roadside manager. They are one and the same. So yeah.
Well, and Becky and I were part of the advisory panel that helped put together the original integrated roadside vegetation management position, which has now been changed to roadside manager. And so at that time, the goal was, when there were cleanouts, that natives could be planted, and, you know, not that every single mile of Benton County's roadways were going to be planted in native habitat, but that in areas where it made the most sense that it would be. So, you know, from a conservation standpoint, there is a lot of, it does fall under what the goals of the conservation department are, and it's that weed portion that's my biggest concern. Is it's July, you're getting complaints from farmers, and we're full bore with our staff mowing, trying to take care of campers and everything else, and if those 3 positions aren't in place, how much of that work suddenly becomes one of the current conservation staff? Or how much leniency do we get to say, hey, bear with us, 2024 is going to be a learning year. You know, we'll need to have some sort of protection or space to kind of help work with those specific instances, because it's going to come up. Just like Gary, you're pointing out, there's a lot of areas that probably have been not paid attention to the last year or 2, and there's going to be a lot of catch-up that's going to take 2 or 3 years probably to get things in order, even once that full staff of 3 is in place.
Definitely.
Well, I will say this. The maintainers do not work the paved roads. So if there's a lot of trees growing there, nobody sees it except the state or the county comes down and they come show the roads. They're not looking for trees or anything. So what happens is the paved roads in south of Blair sounds the same way. There's trees growing there, but nobody's looking at them.
Well, just because the maintainer operator, other than winter, isn't taking care of the blacktop roads, doesn't mean it's not in their district. So they have a certain area, and in the wintertime, they take care of those blacktop roads as well. And so whether it's the truck or the grader, but yeah.
That's true, but what happens is if they're running their snow plows.
I get what you're trying to get at. I understand that, yeah.
but they're not focused on the ditches, and the ditches are full of snow.
Yeah, I understand. So, yeah. It's gonna take a while to get a staff in place.
Right,
Yeah.
I
I guess
guess,
I'd like to ask, it's like, what is your primary intent? Is it weed commissioner duties, or is it roadside management? Because
for me,
our,
it's the weed department. That's me, being a farmer.
because our conservation board mission, promoting recreation and conservation education, and if you want us focusing on weed control and brush control, and we have to pick up the slack if there's not people there, then I think that's contrary to our mission. If you're looking at assisting the roadside manager with the conservation aspects of it, I could go with that.
That's
There's a
more
lot of
of
questions about a lot of things, and I think we shouldn't just rush in. We need to have everything spelled out and know who's responsible for what departments work together, that kind of thing.
I would like to know which counties are the ones that you were talking about earlier. If I get out into those areas and don't like what I see, I'm gonna have trouble moving our county into a situation like that.
Yeah, a handful of them. Well, and then I think that goes back to management priorities. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with them specifically being under conservation. The ones that I've talked to were Clay, Fayette, and Cerro Gordo counties specifically. And they wrote emails describing how it kind of works, what the cooperation looks like. Unfortunately, all of them have been under conservation for 10+ years. So there's not a good transition one to look at. They all state that it's a serious benefit to the county to have it under conservation, but that's what they know. They have a really good working relationship with the engineer and secondary roads. They have it all worked out. All their kinks are worked out. So I asked if there's anybody that they know when it was started or transition-wise, because that's where we're at, just so we're aware of, maybe how that went. But everyone's like, no, it's all great right now. So I'm trying to find somebody that has this back and forth experience, especially since this department it would be the third move in 5 years. I mean, that's a lot of fixing.
Looking for some stability.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess are you willing to take on this duties? That's the question.
Right. So, kind of back to what these guys were saying, sure, yes, I am willing, but there's a big if but, and it's if the expectations are clear on all departments involved. That includes secondary and engineers. Like, I don't want to be a thorn in anyone's side more than I already am with people in this room. Thank you, guys. I need working cooperation with every department in this county for our department to succeed. And I don't want this to be kind of that thing that weighs us down and we don't get that anymore. Whether wrong, right, or indifferent doesn't really matter. I just know there's a lot of history with it. A lot that I'm not even aware of. So I don't want that to be pulled into the political drama mess that it potentially could be. I need support. So if we don't have the support, if we don't have the expectations, if we don't have the understanding, then no, I absolutely do not want it. That's where I'm sitting. I don't know if you guys want to.
You gotta have a good working relationship. That's essential.
Well, she's already got it with secondary road. She doesn't want to do any bruising of that relationship. And so I get that. It works in 10 other counties and has obviously worked for quite a period of time. It's just old hat to them. For us, it would be a new venture. Stability is one thing we need. She's got great skills with the management side. I don't think she should just take it on and with a thank you. I think there should be some compensation for taking it on. But I don't think we have to do budget amendments or anything of that nature. They would take on the current budget. As far as I can see, I don't know the accounting side of it.
So we would just absorb the entire thing as is.
Under rural services.
So,
So like, if you were to increase your salary, are you going to do a split out of the two funds?
More than likely. So, that, again.
What we did currently, going forward, they had me put the same amount in there for next year as we do
Right, I
currently.
saw that.
Because we haven't used hardly any this year, obviously.
Yeah. And that might look really different next year if this
Yeah.
happens, because you know how Cece and I like to mix everything
But
up.
we could lower that levy possibly this year because we levied for it last year and didn't spend it.
Okay.
The biggest problem that I see is the farmer's owned in the middle of the road. So in other words, you go down a gravel road, the farmer that's on the right owns the right half of the road and the ditch. The farmer on the left owns the left half of the ditch. So if there's weeds growing on one side of the road or something, you got a choice. You either spray it yourself, or same way with trees, you either gonna cut them or you wait. Now, that's not true on the roads that are more than normal right away. Like you go to the road between Blairstown and Luzerne, that's wider right away. So then it's been bought. So the farmer owns from the fence in, the county owns from the fence out to the center of the road, or they own the whole thing.
I don't know what that's got to do with combining departments, but, you know, that scenario's been there forever. And whether it's two different departments or all under one heading. And essentially, it's like having two departments, because the IRVM department, if you will, would have a manager, and that's who would take care of it. You would just make sure they're getting the job done.
Yeah, so if you look at the job description that I handed out, the very, very top, they'd be called roadside manager. It has that they would report to me, and then it has that they would supervise full-time roadside management personnel and seasonal staff. And then the responsibilities, just not reading everything, just looking at the underlined portion, they have the responsibilities of weed commissioner, and it states code. They have land management responsibilities, and then on the second page, they have managerial administrative responsibilities. So that kind of breaks it out into the three sections that they would be expected to do and then report to me on.
You would be involved, members of your board, in a interview process as well. So.
And one thing that, and I don't know if the advisory board even still exists, there was a
Still
roadside.
people posted on the website.
Yeah, there's still an advisory board that exists that also could be a group to assist in this, whether it comes under conservation or does not. And again, I go back to when it was started, we were all very active in posting the job, helping with the job description, interviewing and all of those functions. So that's the one thing that'll, again, the biggest concern is just the time that it will take to find 3 good people, because that's, I mean, we're a people world, and finding the right people is the biggest challenge. Because the position has worked in the past when we had the right staff, and the department was able to get things done for the most part. Which would be the goal if you've got the right manager and 2 staff assistant or staff members, it probably moves along just fine. It's again, my concern comes back more to this year, finding, you know, how long does it take to find the right manager plus the right 2 people that are willing to do the work under them. And if we've got the support, Shelby's got the support to say, hey, just bear with us, we're working on this, is going to be one of the biggest challenges.
Whether it's under the conservation umbrella or left as is, there's still going to be a period of time where everybody's got to hold their horses.
Yeah.
Got to get staff aboard, and you just don't flip a switch. So.
And the other, and it just gets back into the details of the equipment, and also the spray, the chemicals, the storage. I think that's all at secondary roads, so if that still would be maintained there, because I know that was built up and done, so again, assuming all that would come under that transition as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, that chemical storage, I mean, there's, in case of a spillage, there's.
Eyewash stations.
Right. What's that?
Eyewash stations and all that over there too.
Exactly. I mean, it's all there.
Yep.
So, yeah. Yep. Okay. Any opposition, I guess, is what I'm looking for? Is that a hard line no, or?
I'm just thinking that they're biting off more than you can chew. That's my opinion.
It could be a lot.
Regardless, we need to get this squared around and done quickly, because it won't be long, they'll be spraying.
55 degrees today, there'd be weeds growing today. And grasses, little daffodils are coming up.
We're gonna have to hire a seasonal month early.
Okay. Well, that's just what we're looking for here. You know, I'm trying to throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. Yeah. We gotta get.
I'm not against it. I mean, if she's willing to bite the bullet and try this, move to,
Anybody can do it.
more power to you.
It
It could be a lot though.
That's what, yeah, if you do the job.
If you have the right people
That's the thing.
in the department and they need minimal supervision, that's one thing, but it could be a lot of extra added work. And what if those people don't stay and they're vacant, and then, you know, or the rest of the county conservation employees supposed to pick up the slack? I don't think we want that. Because then they're gonna let something else go. Because you can only do so much with what you got.
And I wouldn't propose that the members of conservation drop everything and suddenly run over and take care of the IRVM or the weed management. No, we gotta get a staff in place. So that's what we've gotta get, yeah. And we gotta get moving on it.
I feel like last week they had their Iowa testing for the continued pesticide classes last week, so that's done and over with for the county. So I look at, you're gonna have problems wherever you get, if they don't already have a spraying license, they're
It's in the
gonna
job
have
description.
fun getting it.
It's in the job description that they already have to have it.
That's gonna,
It limits our pool, but that's the only way to do it. The expectations that, and I think it's a little tough, some of the stuff I put in for requirements upon hire. Not tough, but I don't think you're gonna get someone straight out of college, and I don't think you're gonna get someone that just hasn't worked in this, well, you're not gonna get someone that hasn't worked in this field. It's gonna require reaching out, posting in unique locations, and really selling Benton County to fill this position appropriately, but I think that's something that we have to be willing to do, and if you don't find it within the couple of weeks that it's open, you reopen it. You don't just hire somebody that doesn't quite fit the bill, because there's a reason I put the education and experience in here. I'm expecting them to be a manager, I'm expecting them to manage staff, and I'm expecting them to know what they're doing, because like they said, I don't want to be 50% assisting them and taking that 50% from my existing operations, since we're adding on, so. Yeah, there's kind of a list here that it could be, it's not a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people that I know in the conservation world at all, but just somebody who's like, oh, I can spray weeds, they're not gonna be able to fit this. So we're gonna have to outreach, like statewide. Or further. And I'm aware of that.
Even getting a chauffeur's license, you know, that is such a mess right
CDL.
now. Hmm?
CDL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're moving towards the fact that we would not have CDL drivers. That's the type of equipment that we're working towards.
Not if we pull the skid steer.
Correct.
The skid steer requires it, and that's part of the job. So the manager would most definitely want a Class A just to be covered.
Correct.
Are there any current secondary roads staff that have applicators' licenses now, or would be as a backup?
Not to my knowledge.
I have no clue.
I don't think so.
With regard to the sprays, are those all here?
The chemical? Oh, yeah. They bought it last year and never used it. Dropped.
And I think seed and mulch too. And it's all at secondary.
They did quite a bit of hydro seeding last fall.
Did they?
Yes, they did. They had a,
So mulch
Quite
and
a bit
seed
of-
may need ordered?
might. There again, you'd have to check with secondary roads on that. But I do know they did do a lot of mulching last fall.
Any idea what kind of records were kept over the last couple of years in terms of areas that they've seeded, maintained, areas that they considered high priorities that they needed to address? I know back in Ben's group, they did the high road and, did a big clear out there, and, but there were some other areas that they focused on. And
I don't know.
So of those-
There is, I'm sure, records. We could contact Wesley and ask him, where those records were kept. As far as any ditch cleanouts, that was all conducted through Randy Sherwood,
Yeah.
but
Well, even just like running the spray truck with the GPS, and, the new person's gonna have to know how to access those records. Who's gonna show them,
And, yeah. I have reached out to Ben Bonner, who was the previous, was a previous roadside manager, and I could reach out to Wes also. And I don't think Wes would have a problem coming back to showing, and/or Ben already agreed to take a couple days even if needed, show me and whoever. Probably pull in extra staff too. Just cross-training is always the best, even though you're not pulling them, just so people are aware. And to the extent that we were talking about, the level of expectation and the education requirement experience, I probably, and I would talk to like Haley and Sue about this, but I would probably suggest the salary be higher than what it currently was. There might have to be an adjustment there, because they are a manager, and we're expecting certifications up front, and we're expecting them to get additional within timeframes. Like, just looking at how that works, I don't think that's a, $40,000 to $50,000 job, even though they have a boss, me, as a director, but what they're being expected to do in managing people, that I think needs to be elevated a little bit from what was in the budget. So things like that would be.
So the bottom line is, how do you want to move forward? You want to leave it as is, or do you want to try something new with conservation? It sounds like they're willing to take it on.
Like I said, if they're willing to try it, I'm for it.
Gary?
But I just feel like you're biting off quite a bit.
Well, it still needs to go to our next board meetings this
Of
coming
course.
Monday, and we'll have a long discussion about it then too. So it's not a given that
Right.
we've readily accepted it, but we at least want to see what we can do and learn as much as we can about it, so we're making the right decision for the county.
I think our answer is we'd like you to, approach your board about that.
With regard to what was seeded last fall, did that grow?
I have no idea what was seeded last fall.
Too late in the year.
And it was a drought, I mean,
Dry.
Chances are it wouldn't have done anything.
yeah.
No.
And then if anything took, it would have been the cover if they put cover crop on it.
So we need more seed, probably.
Possibly.
Well, it's probably just laying there. It'll start this spring. They use rye, right?
If they did a cover, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just mixed in with that hydro seed.
Mhm.
So it'll come this spring.
Should. A lot of the farm fields that have cover on them are really greening up right now. Do you guys have any other questions, anything else we touched? Cece, do you have any comments?
I don't think so. It'd be nice if we had a little bit more support going into this. I'm feeling not quite supported like we would need to move forward.
I think the comment of we're biting off more than we can chew, more like be patient with us and understanding, and we're excited for your opportunity to do this, and we're here for you, is a much better approach. Is that better? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Tracy.
Like I said, I look at it, it's a big undertaking you're taking.
And I don't expect
Personally,
it.
there is no way I would touch it.
Right, that's reassuring, thank you. The only way I'm seeing this being successful is like, talk to me literally in a year from now, and we'll see how we are. That's like, I am not guaranteeing any level of comfort, even if the board accepts it on Monday or the following month. I'm not expecting us to be rocking and rolling and looking good in months, because that's not how that works. Like the conservation department, we've been trying to like evolve as a team and get everything fluid and working with the other departments and like trying to, I don't know how many times I walk in these people's offices and I'm like, what do you need from me? I don't know what I'm doing. And like, it's gonna be a lot of that for a while. And just understanding that. Like,
Well, I attend all your meetings faithfully.
I know, you do.
And I look at it that you got, one thing that impressed me, you got 4 people that already have their license to spray.
Mhm.
Now, I know your staff is busy from April 1
To
till
April 1,
September. Yeah,
actually.
more or less,
Yeah.
yes. And I know, and then I'm thinking in my mind that you're gonna start the spraying season. If you can't get somebody to sit their butt and have their license, you're gonna lose 2 of your good employees sitting in the truck spraying. That's what I feel right now. I don't know what's out there. Maybe you're gonna get somebody that's gonna be a good manager and has got his license and ready and jumped in the seat and
Or she.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
whoever.
roadside manager, that would be the plan. They get hired on, then they're involved with hiring their employees. That's how, like, there's no, and that's as fast as you can go. And it sucks if we lose another spray season. And that's what I'm saying, that's where that support comes from, understanding that that might happen, especially if we take it over, because I'm not gonna just do it fast. I'm gonna do it right as quickly as possible.
And that's where I think too, if it would be the instance like you just mentioned, where there's not anybody in place and 2 of our staff is expected to do it, then we won't, it's not an option for our board to take it under.
See, that's what I look at, that, I don't know.
That's why I'm asking that this year's gonna be a bumper year, where it's like, hey, give us, if we've already missed last year, we're gonna miss this year too, is kind of like the thinking.
And like if someone calls in sick and we are fully staffed and Zach's got the spray truck and CC can't spray, I have no problem with her hopping in for the one day or a couple of hours during the no-win window. Fine, but that's within reason, it's not, they're just
Right.
doing the job for the week.
Well, see, that's what if it's windy, I understand, you park the truck and.
Right, it's just, it's within reason, because you gotta know when it's good for
Yeah,
roads to
I
spray.
don't expect
It's
5
good
days
for
a
them to
week.
spray the parks
Yeah.
too.
Rainy days, whatever, windy, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, well, and temperature, humidity, yeah,
So,
all of that, yeah.
Then you got, like you said, you basically got the 1st of May until 1st of July. That's your spraying season.
This year we might have 1st of April until
Yeah. Well,
realistically.
chances of actually getting that spraying done this year is pretty slim. No matter.
Even if we don't take it, yeah.
Who's running it, yeah.
Definitely, that's what I mean, if we have to hire somebody.
Well, we have to hire somebody.
Well, I know, but I'm talking if it comes back to we keep the department on its own.
Whether it is or isn't.
Yes.
Somebody's gotta be hired, and this spray season's gonna suck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I see is and I don't know how you go about this, but there's a lot of times you need to start spraying about 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4:30. And
Well, I
then
don't-
spray till 10. By the time you get to the job site, get your truck loaded, get out to where you're spraying, and start spraying when it gets light. And then you quit at like probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Well, you gotta be careful to do and everything else too, but yeah. So that's something that our staff we generally work 7 to 3:30 anyway, and that's in the job description. That lines up with secondary roads also, which is nice for having everything accessible. But, we've come in early when it's hot. We're much more fluid. We don't have like courthouse hours, for instance. We're not, we work off the weather, and so it just depends. Like, we're very, very fluid. Our hours are 7 to 3:30 and 8 to 4:30, depending on what staff member, but we understand how the weather works, for sure.
Same comparison when the staff does burns, it's the same
Yeah,
situation.
you work late.
You take advantage of the prime conditions
Mhm.
to get the job done.
Yeah, that's nothing new for us.
That's good.
Okay.
Do you guys have anything else before we're all together on Monday?
5,000 questions, but it's not for here.
Well, I appreciate you guys considering this. We're kind of in a tough spot, and, thinking the two can work hand in hand as well as with secondary roads. I mean, there's 3 departments here that can help each other.
Does anybody else have any, like Haley, do you have any concerns, questions with this?
Figuring out the budget.
That's what I was gonna say, on the budget side of things?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, and now's the time we need to know that.
Anybody else? Anything? Yeah.
I guess one thing I haven't heard yet is, if you make this transition, who's their boss?
Me.
Because right now, the board appoints the weed commissioner. So you're totally gonna move it under that board.
But then they'll still appoint somebody the weed commissioner.
Why wouldn't your board appoint the weed commissioner?
Because state code is supervisors have to
Okay, so
appoint
there's-
in every county.
So there's a mess.
It's not a mess in 10 other counties.
No, yeah, it's just an appointed position within the county. They just have to have, who is the point of contact for the weed complaints. And that's what they appoint. So they could appoint Haley if she had pesticide applicators. You know.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? They could appoint anybody in the county that's qualified for the position. You have to know what noxious weeds are, and then you have to know how to manage them, and then that's your qualification. So that's how it would work under conservation, is they just appoint. But if they don't like the way the weed, like the roadside manager's handling it, I guess, they could always appoint somebody at secondary if they're qualified. You know, like they could technically change it. But it is wrote in the job description that they would most likely be appointed by the supervisors every year. Is how that currently is written.
With the changes prior, like 5 years ago, it was all under the secondary roads budget.
Right.
And then we created the rural service back into it, so
Mhm.
that's where I'm concerned is.
How that's.
I mean, especially Myron, obviously his budget part's done too,
Right.
so.
So could it stay exactly as is, but we're just the signee,
I would think
essentially?
you would be the one that approves off on the.
Right.
Right now, they're currently signing off on the bills for
Right.
that department. Yeah, so somebody would have to take over, making sure those bills are coded and,
My office manager.
yep. But you're good at coding all that stuff.
I know, we both look at, she's got her head down, she's all
I have no
looking up.
doubt you guys are gonna do great. I mean, Shelby's always been the best to work with her questions. I mean, she'll get me what I need from her instantly. I mean, she goes above and beyond, but yeah, I don't want you to see you get.
I know, I don't wanna get, I just want everyone to know it's gonna be like a serious learning curve, and I'll have like different deposits, I don't know.
I don't want you to feel pressured by any means.
Right.
How do secondary roads feel about it?
Yeah, that's another, thank you. That's an excellent question. When is Myron being brought into this conversation? I should have invited him
That's what
here.
I'm saying, I don't know if Myron is even aware of it because for budgeting.
He is. I stopped by and talked to him about it. He was gonna try to get me something in writing before this meeting, because I wanted him to, but, you know, Myron. So, I just, that would be another thing, I guess. Maybe I could ask him to come to our board meeting. See if he'd be willing to attend that. I should have had him come today. I wasn't even thinking about it. But definitely need buy-in from him and the guys.
Because currently you definitely have all those chemicals and stuff still stored out there, right? So.
And that was one of his concerns, is making sure we had the same hours, 7 to 3:30,
Yeah.
which that's what our field staff hours are, so.
Okay.
But yeah, for budgeting, if we can reduce that this year, the asking on that for sure, to cover that. Fund balance is gonna be cushioned come the end of June this year. Because if you look at that activity in the weed department, we haven't had much.
Yeah, nothing since November. Right.
So,
Just a few bills. No, I think you'd be all right, because the other thing is that, I never looked at the budget real close, but it used to be about 65,000 they figure in for chemicals, you know.
that's what I mean, can we reduce
And
that
that was,
now?
yeah, well, see, that would be the budget for 23, or 24, 25.
What we're currently,
Yeah,
well, and then for next year, that's what I'm saying, we should be able
well,
to
you'd
reduce
have to
that.
have that in the budget to replace the chemicals that we have now,
Since we're not
hoping that
buying
they
it
get
this year.
sprayed here May and June of this fiscal year. Because them chemicals are technically 2 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, do they have a shelf life too then, or?
No. Well, they keep from freezing, which it's heated when they're in. So I would say as for the chemical wise, you know, if it's in the budget, and I'm sure it is, 65,000, leave that alone. But you got all the extra labor for the employees that hasn't been used.
Yeah.
So that'll
that's-
cover any shortfalls here whenever you get somebody hired.
Right. It'll be an adjustment.
So the only thing that would come back and kind of scratch things is that after you get somebody hired, the fiscal year of July of next year, then you might need a budget amendment
yeah.
for the labor cost of that size. Because I don't remember if the truck's paid for, that's sitting in the shed, I don't know, I haven't been there for 2 weeks now. Is the bed on it?
No.
No? It's not on yet?
It wasn't 3 days ago.
Okay, okay, see, I haven't been there for 2 weeks. That was back ordered yet, it's being made in Cedar Rapids. So, but that should be all figured in this fiscal year
Yeah, it's
Correct.
planned to be in this.
budget. But I mean, it hasn't been paid out because we don't have it yet. But I gotta commend you for taking this on.
Grants received.
Well, it's not official yet.
I know it,
Okay.
I know in the past too, there was seed grants available for a lot of the purchase, but I'm guessing we missed out on that cycle.
Living roadways.
Living
Trust
roadways,
Fund.
Yeah.
Yep.
For that, so it's something else to look into.
We'll be busy.
Take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And thank the board there for looking at it. So, you appreciate it.
Also, just so I'm clear, if her board is good with moving forward, then we would post this as is, or what would be next steps or to-dos, just so I'm clear?
Well, you guys go through HR for postings.
Yeah, so if they approve,
But if they're good with it, this group is good with that plan moving forward.
we
Is that-
have to move.
I think,
Make a
We'd
motion
have
and
to
all
make a
that.
motion along that line.
right, so they would approve basically the budget again, and it'll look different. And then it would come to them on Tuesday. They would approve their budget.
It'll be a week late.
No, our meeting's
Their
on
meeting's-
Monday, and if it's
Your
on.
meeting's on Monday, if you approve it Monday night, it's not
Well,
like you're gonna
yeah, it
put
can be on the
the
agenda.
Planned for the agenda already, because you guys don't have it as an action item today regardless.
Yeah, I
Right, it'll be
know.
on the agenda, your agenda for a week from today.
Okay, but then if your board votes it down though, then what?
It's still on the
It's still on
agenda.
the agenda.
We just,
Okay.
Well, it's not a big deal.
yeah.
Okay.
Or you leave it and you say, now what do we do? And you can act on whatever
Put
it
it
is.
on at 9:45 next week.
Okay.
Love it. And then they just have to approve their new budget technically, and then it's active after that. That's my understanding.
Clear as
I'm not so
mud.
sure that we should.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure that we shouldn't have extra people this year.
They're gonna hire.
I know.
He says with confidence. He's feeling a little bit more confident on it now.
Well, I mean, yeah, ideally if you could hire 3 or 4 assistants for 1 year, seasonals for, it would probably be ideal to try to, if you have that manager position,
right.
to jump ahead, that would be the ideal. If you could just find 2 good ones to start would be the primary goal.
Good. All right. Well, moving on. We have in, for that time frame also, HR job description. If you remember during Sue's review, for lack of a better word, we'd asked her to get a more updated version of her job description. I have not seen that. I don't know if any of you guys have. What I'd recommend is maybe she would email that to us, give us time to look it over.
Was there a job description when she was hired?
There was, but I think there was some things we wanted to tweak.
Right. I think that's where it came to be, is, yeah, there's things in here I wanted clarification on, and I think things that needed updated, like, I don't know, one example is, where was it? Supervise the mental health advocate. That's not something I'm currently doing, so, that wouldn't be.
You could be.
So.
But I did do her evaluation.
So I
Fantastic.
I was
quit
just
bugging you about
thinking
it.
that if she could
So-
email that to us, it'd give us time to look it
I
over,
can turn the evaluation.
which makes sense to me.
Okay.
Okay,
So I would recommend that.
okay, that's fine, yeah. I just want to make sure I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and.
And then you'll have some
I had
explanations
questions,
for that,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you know, like something like that, I'm obviously not doing, so we probably should take that out of there unless Ron and I have a conversation about that and you guys wanna go a different route with that, but, there was just some other pieces, yeah, for clarity, so
Okay.
that's why I did that.
Make sure you send us the old one as well, please.
Okay.
Are you
Okay.
asking her to just share with you guys, or
What's that?
can she share with all department heads?
Why would she do that?
Because I
Do we
think
share
there's.
all
No, but
job
I'm just saying, I
descriptions?
think, I don't understand what she was told in her interview, like, for her trying to take duties away from other departments. I want to be
I
aware of
don't
that.
know that that's the case. So if you
Well,
would,
It kind of is, with the payroll. It's a big topic for my office.
I'm not trying to take payroll out of your office.
okay. If you'd send that to the three of us, please.
For sure.
Okay.
I'd kind of like to know too,
You know,
if that's okay.
we don't send your job or her job description to all the other department heads.
Well, I would if anyone would ask.
I don't think it's necessary, to be very honest. Let us look it over, and then it'll be shared. Because it's gonna be shared, okay? But I think we have the right to look it over first. So, okay? That's my recommendation, please,
Sure.
okay? Anything else, gentlemen? All right.
I also think it's nice that it's the department that has to work with every other department with human relations. And we should.
All departments
and
will
we
get
should
to see
know
it,
What it
but-
is that, I mean, why is it super secret?
It's
That's
not
what I don't
super
understand. Then
secret.
have her send it to all the department heads.
She's not gonna send it to all department heads.
Okay,
I
so
didn't
it's
ask her
secret.
to do that.
So it's secret. How about the rest of the board think?
Okay, what do you guys want? Do you want it sent out to everybody in the county, department heads?
I would like
Or do
to-
you want to look at
I
it?
would like to see it myself, because I want to compare it to other counties.
Okay. That makes sense. Gary?
I feel the same way.
Okay, send it to us, please. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Now, unless there's anything else, gonna ask for an adjournment.
Motion adjourned.
Second,
Okay? I'll call for a motion. Primer, aye?
Seaman, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Thank you. Let's continue.